Well, hello there. Welcome to this video. So today we're going to be going through the additional equipment that you might need for photography apart from the camera, and the add-ons, and then also some techniques that you guys can use for photography to really make your images stand out and pop. It's going to be pretty exciting. So yeah, let's go. First things first, first piece of additional equipment that you're going to need is a tripod. A tripod is a must-have. So it helps stabilize your camera. So you extend the stands out and then you put the camera on top. And yeah, it's pretty self-explanatory, but it's a must-have for photography. It just it keeps all of the motion out, and it just really helps stabilize it and get a good photo. So you don't get any shakiness from the hands, or if there's wind or anything, it kind of helps keep it steady. So that's the first must-have thing for you guys. Next thing that is a must-have really is lenses. So you can have an array of lenses, or you can just have one. It really depends. Lenses are quite versatile these days, so you know, a lot of them can be multi-purpose. But three examples that I have are ones that we have in the Media Hub. So we have a 50mm lens here. Then we have a normal lens that comes with all of the cameras in the Media Hub, and it's just the standard lens. And then we have the 300 to 750mm lens. This is for zoomed in shots. This is just for normal camera stuff, just normal everyday things. And this 50mm is for if you want to get portraits or close-ups, but you don't want to zoom in, because it doesn't zoom in. It just stays at that 50mm length. So all of these are great lenses to have. But if you're going for portrait photography, I personally recommend the 50mm. I just think it's probably one of the best lenses that I've used. It's very simple, it's very easy to use. You go onto your camera and there'll be a button next to the lens, and then you twist, take the original lens off, then put the next lens that you want to use on, and then that's it. That's all you have to do. And then everything else will be basically set up for you. So yeah, that's another must-have and very, very important. Personal recommendation, 50mm. Love that lens. All right, next piece of equipment. I have one here. Very, very, very important. So this right here is a storage device. It's a hard drive. It's an external hard drive. So you'll have a hard drive in your laptop, computer, whatever you have. And then I bought this one as an extra because there is only so much space that your laptop has. And when you get to the point where you have a lot of stuff on there and a lot of space is taken up, your laptop runs very, very slowly, and it's just a real pain. So definitely recommend buying one of these. This one's 1 terabyte, so it has a lot of storage on it. And you know, pictures don't take up a lot of storage, but when you're taking a lot of them, which most of you guys probably will be, it starts to rack up. So I would definitely invest in one of these. Very easy to use. They're usually USB, so you just plug it into your laptop, and then just drag the files from your laptop, well, first from the camera onto your laptop, and then from the laptop onto the external hard drive. And then that leaves a lot of storage on your laptop, so it makes your laptop quicker. And you always know that your stuff is safe, even if you lose your laptop, if something breaks, if you spill water on it by accident. It's happened. This is safe and sound. Just make sure you take very good care of this. And if you really, really, really want to be safe, you can have another external hard drive as the backup option. So that's just something I do, just so that I know I definitely have everything, and I'm not losing anything. But one is fine, and it's definitely a worthwhile investment. So I would definitely recommend picking one of these up. This one's a WD Elements one. You can go with anything. There's a SanDisk, I think, is another really good one. So probably have a look at those. They are a bit expensive, but they're worthwhile. So definitely go pick one of these up. So next thing is artificial lighting. So you're gonna have normal lighting, which is gonna be your sunlight, or anything else that really remotely reflects, like maybe mirrors or something. But then there's artificial lighting, which is super important. This is probably something that you might have to invest in if you don't have it already available to you. We have stuff available to us at the Media Hub, so I haven't had to invest in anything yet, but we have a 3-point lighting setup, which is very handy, and we've also got this new light. I'm not sure what it's called, but it's a massive light that they use for professional photography. When school portraits are done, all that kind of stuff, they use these kind of lights. So I'll show you a video of that here. And that has been a massive improvement to the Media Hub. It's been great to use. And yeah, it's just really made our lives a lot easier and our work a lot better. So artificial lighting really is a must-have. It's super easy to use, and you can change it by putting filters on the lights. So you can put colors on, or you can put filters to dim the lights, and you can also change the the percentage of the lights to make them lighter or darker. So they are very agile and easy to use. They can be expensive, but you can work around your price range. There's a lot of options to choose from. So just have a look online. It really helps, and it's a worthwhile investment. And yeah, I definitely recommend artificial lighting. All right, so now moving on to techniques with cameras. This can just really help you guys improve your photography skills and maybe experiment with some new things that you never tried before. So first thing is use of aperture. So aperture is what affects the amount of light coming into the camera lens and also the depth of field of the image. All right, so aperture is measured in f-stops. So it can go from anywhere from f1.4, which is the most amount of light that's allowed into a lens, and then it can go all the way up to f32, which is the smallest amount of light that goes into a lens. So what you can do is work around that and use aperture to create different effects with your photographs. So if you want to blur out the background and just focus in on your subject, you can put your aperture to a lower setting and then let in less light, which means that you'll probably have to turn up the ISO, but it blurs out the background quite well. So you can just focus in on that subject, and it also allows the audience to just kind of look at what you want them to look at, and it directs their attention towards where you want it, instead of them being distracted by something in the background or something like that. That can be very helpful, but it's also something that you can do in post-production as well by blurring out the background and editing your photo. So it depends. It depends what look you're going for. So it's all up to you guys, but the use of aperture is quite important, and it's a fun thing to do just to mess around with and see what works. So shutter speed is the next thing that we're going to talk about. So shutter speed is measured in tenths or hundredths of seconds, and this is how long the lens is open for before closing and taking the photograph. So one example of using shutter speed to your advantage is light painting, which we're going to talk about in a minute, and that's where you set the shutter speed quite low, and you set it to about 4 seconds so that you have enough time to paint with the light, and then the shutter closes and takes the final photograph. But with a usual image, you'll probably keep it at around a normal rate, which is about 150, and that just really means that it takes the photograph quite quickly, and the shutter speed is quick, so the shutter closes and the image is taken quickly and there's no movement. So the higher the shutter speed, the more frozen your image is going to look, and then the lower the shutter speed, you can get more movement in there, and any slight movements may be picked up in that kind of image, and it can lead to really cool effects. So if you want someone to be jumping or kicking a ball or something like that, you can get all of that movement with the use of shutter speed. But if you just want to take normal pictures with no movement, then you'll set it to a higher shutter speed. So this is going to be the last technique I go through with you guys before handing it over to myself in the Media Hub to take you guys through light painting. So this is the use of ISO. And ISO is probably the most important thing in photography because it can affect your image. So if you want to go for a vintage look, you'd probably set your ISO a lot higher, because the more ISO that you use, the brighter it's going to be and the more grainy it's going to be, because it has more texture and grain, because it's focusing more with more light trying to push through the camera, and it's not as clean and clear and smooth as a lower ISO would be. So if you wanted to go for a vintage look, or an aesthetic kind of look with more texture, you might want to use a higher ISO, but a good rule of thumb is keeping it around ISO 100 to 200, because that's where you'll get really smooth looking pictures with minimal grain and minimal texture, which you can choose to add later in post-production. But you just really want that crisp looking image. So ISO is very important, and it just affects the light coming through to your lens and brightening up the situation. The thing is, you might be in a dark area and you might need to push your ISO higher, but you can also change that with artificial lighting that we talked about earlier, and that will help bring the ISO down if you want to get a less grainy image, but you want to take it at a darker place. So that could be a good possibility. But if you want to have a nice crisp image without any artificial lighting, for example, if you want to take a natural portrait outside with the sunlight, you'll probably keep the ISO about 100 to 200, depending on how much light is around. So yeah, I hope that was helpful, and I'm going to hand over to myself in the Media Hub now to take you guys through light painting. So this is techniques with the camera. This is going to be our light painting bit. So we have lights all around us, and we're in a light controlled area, which is the Media Hub. I have my test subject here, and we can use a light stick or a flashlight, and you guys can paint with light because you can change the shutter speed on your camera and put a timer on, and then from there you can hold it down, press, and then you have about 2 or 3 seconds up to however many you want, maybe 7 seconds. So you can go with your flashlight, and for example you could like paint some wings on each side, and then you can move out the way, and then you'll get a really cool picture. So I'll put an example here now. So that's an example of light painting which we did in class. So yeah, that is the part of techniques.